The last time we explored through Old Street View, we took a look at Kings Island in Mason, Ohio. It was really fun looking back on a time when Son of Beast still existed, Area 72 was still known as Fort Kinzel, and when Mystic Timbers was nothing more than a funnel cake stand, so I decided to see if my other home parks also had interesting street views. I will be referencing that Kings Island video throughout this one, although it isn't necessary to watch it before this one, so feel free to stick around as we travel back 12 years to August 2011 to the one and only Cedar Point.
Unlike Kings Island, where I sort of built up to the bigger changes, Cedar Point just starts out straight out of the gate. And when I say straight out of the gate, I mean literally out of the gate. Cedar Point's street view is also from August 2011. Is it Bicycle Man? I don't think it is. You'll notice August 2011, that was before a certain GateKeeper. So this is one of the biggest changes out of any amusement park in the world, I would say. Not only is it just obviously the GateKeeper stuff and the whole front gate, but even just the area around the entrance here is completely different because there's no security, there's no metal detector security checkpoints here. I don't know when those were installed because I feel like I remember them being here the first time I went in 2015 and 2013 at Wonderland and stuff. I don't know, I only started going to parks in 2013. Again, just like Kings Island, there's a couple, you see more of these sort of pop-up things around that you don't really see anymore. I know a couple years ago they did have a similar sort of car thing. I think it was for their summer luau or whatever it was in 2019. But you don't see as much stuff as this. You don't really see stuff popping up from the Humane Society or Pet Care, stuff like that. You don't ever really see any of these pop-up things at the park anymore. Just like with Kings Island, how you didn't see the corporate sponsorships on rides anymore. Even just something like the ticket booths. The ticket booths were originally on the left side here, but now, after GateKeeper, they got moved over to this right side, where I think nowadays they would be right about, not here, but close to here. Also, yeah, the interesting thing is that Cedar Point actually had a double thickness entrance, because this thing here is where you actually buy your tickets. It's sort of similar to, I think Michigan's Adventure still has it set up like this. This is where you buy your tickets, and then the actual gate is right here, which is kind of strange that the gate is pushed way further back. When you look at it, when you approach the park, this is what you think is going to be the main entrance, but it's actually back here. That makes it really strange trying to figure out where in the park this is nowadays, just because this is all pushed back. And I actually want to see where we were is where the actual entrance building is nowadays. This is where the GateKeeper building is. If I drop the pin right here, then it's about halfway between the ticket booths and the front, where the front entrance used to be, which is kind of interesting. It's really neat looking at just how different this park entrance is. Shout out to this guy, by the way. If I notice anyone like that, I'm going to just point them out. There's a picnic pavilion. I don't think that this is here anymore, or at least it got moved to be inside of the park. No, it didn't. It got completely removed for GateKeeper. That's kind of, you don't really see a lot of picnic places in parks or outside of parks anymore. And I guess it does make sense. They want you to eat in the park and spend more money. Spending a lot more time outside of the park here than I was at Kings Island. Again, as well, just so much picnic area here, and you never see that at parks anymore. Oh, it is Bicycle Helmet Man. Wait a minute. He's back. Look at that.
Oh my god, I got stuck in another POI. Is this a biker? Is this just a cyclist who does he just have a bike helmet on his head that this is attached to? That's probably it.
Okay, enough dawdling outside of the park. And then, yeah, we're into the front entrance here. This place doesn't exist anymore, Hurricane Hannah's. And I don't know what's here now. I think it might be just it's another restaurant thing. Or is this where you get your fast lanes, or is it a Coca-Cola free? I can't remember. but it's one of those things. The carousel and this front thing, this front little planter, these are all the same, except for this has a 150th anniversary sign now. This building here got turned, this Sweet Treats in 2020, it got turned into, I think it was, this is where French Corner Confections is, which is a new sweet shop. A lot of this area around the front of the park is pretty similar. Like Ocean Motion here, this is all similar. Back there it's a bit different because this is actually, nowadays this is a dead end, and in its spot right here is an employees only area. You can actually see the fence right there. This is all turned into an employees only area. I'm going to be popping out into this view a lot more, I think, this time around, just because I want to show more of the differences. A couple of the other buildings in this area got changed as well. Jack Aldrich Theater is pretty much similar though. It's fairly similar. The CP shop, that got a whole redesign in, I want to say either 2019 or 2020. A couple things on it got redesigned. Like the sign here, the signage, and the color scheme of it got changed. This Donut Time place is now Starbucks. We're not really talking about any rides for a while. I'll throw up a timestamp for when we get into the actual rides, but that's just because there's so much introductory stuff, and like the main Midway is pretty different. This Midway Market building is another thing that got changed in 2020. It got changed to Hugo's. It's a really good Italian restaurant. Over here, this Pink's got removed. Unfortunately, it was really good, but it got removed, replaced with a mac and cheese place, and then that mac and cheese place closed like 2 seasons later. This gift shop as well, this Lotsapalooza store just doesn't exist, because like I said, all of this got turned into a staff-only area, like a backstage. Wow, we're already in 11 minutes and I haven't even gotten past the first 200 meters of the park. Instead of just going through and saying, oh, this is pretty much all the same, this is all the same, I'm going to talk more about, just going to like skip through all of the same areas and just talk about the stuff that's specifically different. I think that's how we're going to do it this time around. Wow, that's a lot of people queuing for Raptor. I don't blame them, because it's a really good ride, but like, sheesh. A 2-hour wait. I don't know if I'd wait 2 hours for Raptor. I'd wait like an hour and a half maybe, if like everything else was really crowded, but I don't think I'd wait 2 hours for Raptor. Up here, this little plaza in the middle here got changed in 2020. This little splash pad area, I don't know why this was here. It's such just an odd thing to put right in the middle of the main Midway of the park, because it's completely separate from any of the water rides or from Soak City. That's just kind of an odd thing to have. But that got removed, as well as all of the bricks up here, and this is where Legacy Walk is now. One of the new additions for 2020, where you could order a brick and you could have it custom engraved, and then it would be just here as a permanent part of Cedar Point history. I didn't get a brick, and I wish I did. This Johnny Rockets just closed, I think it was last season, the end of last season. This Johnny Rockets closed, and it was replaced with a small arcade and mirror maze. So like I mentioned, right out of the gate, Cedar Point has one of its biggest alterations, and we're just going to go talk about this area, because over here is 2 very iconic rides that don't exist anymore. Space Spiral and Disaster Transport. Both of these rides got removed, I think end of 2012. In 2013, they were replaced with GateKeeper, and this entire area was kind of redesigned. All of these shops were updated. I think that there's a frozen yogurt shop and a Coca-Cola Freestyle place over here now. Everything in this area got updated. This is now just like a covered, sort of like what Banshee has. It's a covered dining area, or like just a covered picnic table spot. If I pop out, you can see it there. That's where the entrance is for GateKeeper. You can even see where the new path began, when back in 2012, it was just Disaster Transport. This is another section that just very, very recently, as in only this season got changed, because this is now the boardwalk. Is that an hour wait to ride Max Air? It was ridiculously crowded when Bicycle Man went to Cedar Point today. Look how long the wait is for Max Air. I've never seen it. I've never even seen Max Air's wait go out of the queue before. That's ridiculous. Regardless, this whole area got changed in 2023 and became the boardwalk. So Troika here got a repaint. A couple other rides got moved down into this section. Tiki Twirl, which is renamed Calypso, and Matterhorn got moved down here. And then another one of the big changes, a sad change kinda, is this beauty right back here, Wicked Twister. This got completely removed and just blown to smithereens. This is where the new Grand Pavilion restaurant is now. As much as I hate to say it, I kind of like Grand Pavilion more. Like, Wicked Twister was really fun, but I kind of like Grand Pavilion more. Maybe that's just me talking like that just because, I don't know, I like the food that they have there, and I only last rode Wicked Twister in 2016 because I was stupid and I skipped it in 2019, thinking, oh, I could get back next year. Yeah, Wicked Twister's gone, and this section here is now where Wild Mouse is. This whole kind of area up here. I think that this theater? This building? Yeah, this stadium got removed a while back as well. I don't even remember when this stadium got removed. I feel like that was before I showed up. Because I feel like I never remember this stadium being here. I first went to Cedar Point in 2015. A couple other smaller things got changed in this area between 2011 and now as well. Planet Snoopy got a couple of renovations. Like, some new rides are put into this spot. I think that this 3-point challenge and this little gazebo aren't here anymore. I don't remember this Happy Fry, or this Mr. Potato being here. I think that this also got removed, and the whole area just got enhanced with more rides. I'm gonna be honest though, this is like the one section of Cedar Point that I really am not well versed in. I've only been in this area where Windseeker is. I've only ever been here twice. Once was the very first time that I went to Cedar Point in 2015, and the other time was the last visit that I made at the end of July, and that was just because I was coming through this entrance. The first time I ever went through the beach entrance, by the way. It's kind of cool. This Joe Cool's Cafe used to be Pizza Hut Express, but I think that this is where the Melt is now. It's like a grilled cheese and mac and cheese bar type of place. What's in the gift box? To Snoopy. Do not open until August 7th? Huh. I wish we could go into the arcade here. That would be really neat if they did Street View into the arcade, because that's been under several renovations. There was a new one only a couple months ago where they turned the back half of it into a mini golf. I would love if Street View went into these gift shops, because that would be really cool looking at just how different they are. I spend way too much time looking through the gift shops at the park. This hat rack here got turned into a button place some time ago. And the Snoopy boutique here got a massive refresh. I feel like that was 2020 or 2021. It got a massive refresh into a new peanut store, which is a really, really nice gift shop at the park. This building as well is one that went under a big change. Another part of the 2020 midway refresh, the Corral got changed into a really, really nice looking new restaurant. Most of the changes up here are just smaller ones, like this icy mix-up, hot potato, Attitudes place, this is now a Coca-Cola Freestyle. This Game Day sports bar over here got changed some time ago into a Chicky and Pete's, and I think that's still what it is nowadays. I also don't think that this picnic smoking area exists here outside of Raptor anymore. I think that now where we're standing there's like a basketball game. This is where Calypso used to be. This is before I was here, by the way. I first went after it got moved over to where the boardwalk is nowadays, but I guess it was over here. I never even knew Calypso was over here. That's really strange. And also, that there is nobody over here, because, like, why would you go over here? Well, this is why you would go over here. Because this is where one of the miniature car rides was as well. This is another thing that I didn't realize. I knew that there was one, but I didn't realize that it was here. And moreover, I didn't realize that this path just ended. Because it doesn't end nowadays. I'm going to go around, so that way I can give you a better comparison of what it looks like nowadays. It's kind of weird as well that Cedar Point had two of these miniature car rides right next to each other. It's kind of odd. See, at one time Cedar Point had 3. This is where a big change happened at Cedar Point in 2016. One of the biggest changes, I think outside of GateKeeper, I would say the biggest change between 2011 and now. The dodgems here got moved over to the boardwalk area. I was confused over there. I knew that something was missing, and it was the dodgems. I didn't realize that these got moved there. But as you might be able to notice if you've been to the park since 2016, this whole section here is now where Valravn resides. The massive 200-foot B&M dive coaster. But going back then, it was just kind of a weird, just sort of nothing plot at Cedar Point. The marina entrance was still here, but it was much different to how it is nowadays. I didn't know that statue was there. That's kind of strange. Obviously that doesn't exist anymore, but I never knew that. These are the other 2 rides that got moved over to the boardwalk area this year. Scrambler and Matterhorn got moved over there. And so now this section is a bit more empty. So now we come up to the decision where we have to choose our path, whether we want to go down Millennium Midway or Gemini Midway. And I don't really know which one I want to go down. So we're going to flip a coin. Heads will go down Millennium Midway. Tails will go down Gemini Midway. Alright, here we go.
Okay, it landed heads. So that means that we're going Millennium Midway first. Like this sort of weird design building thing doesn't exist anymore. I'm assuming this was added around Millennium time, just because it has the same sort of style. Again, you don't really see anything corporate sponsorship-y anymore, aside from like Blaster commercials on Fun TV. This is where the Good Time Theater was, which got removed for Valravn. I never was here because it was torn down. I think it was torn down in 2014 before I went. But I will always remember the name Good Time Theater because when Valravn was being talked about and when it was being added, that was when I was like very first getting into like amusement parks and roller coasters. And so everyone was talking about how where the Good Time Theater used to be, there's going to be a new roller coaster there. And there was! We were entirely right. This section of the park has undergone a couple of changes. Over here, this is where the stage is now. There's a big stage here. Iron Dragon's queue got massively reduced because it does not need to have this many switchbacks. But this is now where a stage exists for just live shows. But then on the other side of here, you might notice another one of their really big changes. Wildcat. This got removed in 2013, I think. 2012 or 2013, but it was a really long-lasting coaster. This Wildcat had a really long tenure at the park. And there's references to Wildcat across the park. The biggest one nowadays is the cat at the very top of Wild Mouse's lift hill is Wildcat. You can even see, I'll throw up a little comparison of what this cat looks like as compared to the Wild Mouse one, and you'll notice they're the same cat. Again, I don't really have much to touch on for Wildcat because this was before the time that I went to the park. Oh, is that like a projection building for this big screen? That would make sense. So you'll notice as we're approaching, something looks wrong, a bit off with this coaster. If you've been since 2015, you might realize that it's not named Mantis anymore. That's because in 2015, Mantis got repainted, renamed, and new trains were added to it. This used to be a stand-up coaster, but in 2015 it got transformed into the floorless coaster Rougarou. It doesn't look super dissimilar just because it's the same layout, it's all of the same track, but it is just kind of interesting seeing it with this color scheme, because again, this was before my time at Cedar Point. Voted best steel coaster in the world for 10 years. Was actually voted the best steel coaster in the world for longer than 10 years, up until Fury 325 opened, and then just yoinked that record away. Deservingly so, I'll say. How long is the wait for Millennium here? I can't read that, and I really want to. Some number of hours. You'll notice some smaller changes as well, like how the lockers are different nowadays. They're not separated between the $2 and $3 lockers. You can get a single use locker for $2, or you can get a multi-use one that you can use around the park for, I think it's $12 at Cedar Point or $8 at Kings Island. And they're a different color, different design of all these lockers, and there's a different mechanism for how you open it. Because these ones, you just insert your coins, and then you take the key out, and then you have to hold on to this key. But nowadays, you put your money, or I guess not your money anymore, you put your card in a little thing here, you put in a pin, and then it gives you a locker number, and then you put in that pin in the locker. And it uses dollar coins, which are kind of interesting. Dollar coins aren't really that common in the States. But now it's time to explore down Frontier Trail. A lot of the changes in Cedar Point are just like small things, like this Cedar Junction smoking area is now a Coca-Cola freestyle machine. I think that this CJ's Provisions is now an Auntie Anne's pretzels place. This area here at the front of Frontier Trail, I think that this is where the miniature pony rides are. If you're like a little kid, you can ride around on a miniature pony through a little course here for, I think it's $10. Frontier Trail has not changed as much as I feel like I remember it changing. I feel like when I went back here in 2019, it felt so much more different than 2015 and 2016, but I guess it really hasn't changed that much. Most of the changes are just the different shops, like different things that have occupied these different shops. This is where we're gonna pop off of the main trail for a bit, because there's a couple of other big changes here, like Snake River Falls. Not Snake River Falls, Shoot the Rapids. Snake River Falls is the other one, that's my bad. This is one of the big things that's changed over in this section of Frontier Trail. Shoot the Rapids doesn't exist anymore. It got removed, I can't even remember when, but this is gone, and now in its place right here is Professor Delbert's Frontier Fling, which is a sky coaster, and what used to be the entrance to Forbidden Frontier, which got removed at the beginning of this year. We actually didn't even know it was getting removed until Winter Chill Out of 2023, when they said that Forbidden Frontier is just closing.
which is really sad. I really liked Forbidden Frontier. You can still see the area when you're on Millennium Force. You can still see all of this, but it's just like, it has like still haunt decorations left over. This section hasn't really changed a whole ton. It's been expanded and like refreshed a bit. But this is just an area that not a lot of people know about, really, is the barnyard over here. Well, I think people know about it, but they just never really pay any mind to it. But it's a kind of a neat little petting zoo. I like it. Something that I didn't notice was that this section was open over here. And I guess that there was a museum in this barn? And just a public path that you could go in over here that led into more of the museum? This is odd. This is like the first thing that we've encountered in one of these parks that I genuinely had no idea even existed. That's one of the best things about going through and looking at these parks on old Street View is even after you've been researching about parks like this for several years, you still find out things that you never knew. I never knew that this early farm museum ever existed, and I've done extensive research on Cedar Point. You learn new things every day. We finally made it to Frontier Town. You can't really see it here, but there has been a sort of change to Maverick in the last little while, in that the fountains that used to shoot up when Maverick went through its turn here, they don't anymore. They got turned off in 2020. I think they cited COVID for it, but then they just never turned them back on. And it's kind of lame, because the fountains were really cool. Tony Clark, if you're watching this video, please turn the fountains back on. Town Hall Museum was supposed to get a refresh as part of the 2020 refresh. It was supposed to be turned into a museum just all about like Cedar Point's history, but then that never happened. Like I know it didn't for 2020 and 2021 because of COVID, but I feel like I remember hearing something from Winter Chill Out this year that they said that they just didn't have the Town Hall Museum in the plans anymore for the park. When they went over all of the new stuff that they were adding for 2020, that was my favorite thing that they talked about. But now we just don't get it. Hopefully they actually do drag up that plan for that and redo it, because I really want that to happen. That would be so cool. This is another car ride that got removed. Remember when I said that Cedar Point had three miniature car rides? Yeah, they had 3 miniature car rides, but this one got removed 2021 or 2022, I think. And in its place now is the farmhouse, which is another big restaurant. And I like that Cedar Fair has been building those really big restaurants ever since Harmony Hall got added to Carowinds. They've just been adding a new great restaurant to all of their parks. This Chick-fil-A is gone now. I can't remember what's in its spot, but no more Chick-fil-A. I want to know how long the wait is for Maverick today. Are you kidding? It's like blocked out. Let me read the sign. It doesn't say. This is going to be one thing that like nobody's going to know what I'm talking about. Sometime between 2019 and last year, this little puny arcade tucked all the way in the back of Frontier Town here got removed. And I'm kind of sad that it did, because it had a really scuffed but really fun little shooting gallery in it. And I spent way too long in 2019 playing at this thing, instead of going over here to go ride something that doesn't exist in 2011. Whoops, I kind of forgot about that. Yeah, this is something that you don't see anymore. It's even closed to this day. Wow. You don't see this here anymore, because you know what you see here instead? A certain Steel Vengeance, perhaps?
I did ride Mean Streak, though. Mean Streak is one of the very few things, one of the few defunct coasters that I rode at Cedar Point. I've ridden 3 defunct coasters. Mean Streak, Wicked Twister, and Topful Dragster. We'll get to drag. We'll talk about that later. I'm just kind of sitting here looking at this for a while. And to think, there's not a single other person in this entire area. When nowadays, this is one of the most popular sections in the entire park. I'll let you take a guess as to why. I hope that Canada's Wonderland, when I go through that, it doesn't take as long as this. We can leave Frontier Town now and make our way out through the back of Gemini Midway. Speaking of Gemini Midway, there's the namesake for it. I really like Gemini Station. It hasn't changed, but I did that, like, it's not a change, I just want to talk about it because Gemini Station is absolutely gorgeous. How long was the wait? Still can't see. I was able to read Raptor Sign, and then I have not been able to read any of the other ones since. Hey, there's the Snoopy Bouncy Castle! This is what I was wondering about. I remember this being a thing in 2019. I don't know why this has just been stuck in my mind for so long. But I remember this being a thing in 2019. And then when I went in 2022, it was just gone. And I had not heard anything about it online, about it being removed. And I was just kind of almost surprised that it was just gone when I went back in 2022. I mean, it makes sense, but yeah. Oh yeah, it's unrelated to going through Street View as well, but I finally rode Woodstock Express over here for the first time this last trip that I took. I don't know how it took me this long to ride it. It took me 8 years of going to Cedar Point before I finally decided to ride it. And you know what? It was actually pretty fun. I sat in the back. The only reason why I rode it was because there were 2 other people on the entire ride, and I was like, yeah, I might as well since there's nobody here. And yeah, it was pretty fun. Wait, this is when it was still called Junior Gemini. Whoa! This is now Wilderness Run. And the entrance to it is on the entrance and exit are on the other side of this path. Whoa! I did not realize. I thought it was called Junior Gemini like way long ago. I didn't realize that it was still called this old. When did it stop being called that? Wait a minute. 2013 it stopped being called that. I did not realize that. Wow. A lot of these rides also don't exist anymore. A lot of these smaller, just sort of random rides. I think maybe these ones got moved up to Kitty Kingdom, and I think this Frog Hopper did as well. But this little bumper boats. Oh wait, shout out to these guys. This little bumper boats thing doesn't even exist anymore. And again, I had no idea it even did. Does anything exist in this plot? Oh, this is where the flying scooters are. This is where the flying scooters and Pipe Scream. I completely forgot about Pipe Scream. Yeah, that's why this area looks so different. Because it's missing Pipe Scream. Pipe Scream was added 2013. Yeah, that's why this looks so different. And it doesn't have the blue canopies anymore. It's just tree cover. That's why this area is so unpopulated. Because it doesn't have Lake Erie Eagles and Pipe Scream over here. And also because you don't have all of the people going to Steel Vengeance. Oh, that's interesting. And they don't have these Midway games here anymore. I think this has turned into turned into like a frozen yogurt place. Monster got a repaint. Wait, was this when Paddle Wheel Excursions was still a thing? Oh my god, it was. Look at that. Yeah. This is when Paddle Wheel Excursions was still around. Before it got removed. I don't even know when. And then in 2021 it got replaced with Snake River Expedition. Which I really like, by the way. Ride Snake River Expedition if you have the time. Even if you don't have the time, ride Snake River Expedition. I just want to say as well, shoutouts to Bicycle Man for going through Camp Snoopy here. Like, he didn't have to, but I really appreciate it. Just so that way I can see that pretty much nothing has changed. Shoutouts to anyone who does Google Street View stuff. Like, this is just so, it's such a great bit of just like preservation. Oh yeah, Witch's Wheel. That's what this is called, right? This doesn't exist anymore either. It got removed and replaced with Bat Beat Q. That's another thing that I just completely skipped my mind. Give it up for the 1 hour mark on this recording. Woo! It's okay, we're almost done. This entrance also got changed. It's not an... I didn't even know that this was like an underground tunnel before. Huh. That's actually really cool. I wish that they kept it like that. Also, these rides don't exist anymore. Ripcord, Challenge Golf, Challenge Racing. Well, Ripcord got moved. What is that? Skyscraper? Wait, did I pass over Slingshot? That's another thing. That's another ride that completely skipped my mind. Oh my god. Yeah, this is where Slingshot is. That's why Gemini is stationed. That's why I was thinking that it looked odd here. Oh my god. This is where Slingshot is. Yeah, how did I forget that? How did I completely... I have a map of Cedar Point literally right next to me. It's like my monitor is here, and then immediately to the right of it is one of the massive poster maps of Cedar Point. How did I forget that? Oh my god. I apologize for missing out, for forgetting to mention Slingshot there. Now I'm gonna be like obsessively cross-referencing with that map now that I remember that I have it. Oh, this was before Magnum had lockers. There's now a locker thing here for Magnum. Huh. Lawnmowers? Take home a thrill. Ha. We don't need to go ride this top-level dragster, Timmy. We got a John Deere lawnmower. That's quite the thrill enough. This is an awful accent. I'm so sorry. This is where all the people are. We gotta talk about this, right? We gotta talk about Dragster. I don't even know how to talk about Dragster. Because, like, this area hasn't really changed aside from just a fence. But next year, it's going to completely change. Everything about this section is going to be completely different forever. I can read that one. Hour and something. Hour and a half. How does Dragster have a shorter wait than Raptor? But this area is just going to be so different. I don't even know how to talk about it. Like the bleachers, these are gone. That's my least favorite thing about Top Thrill 2. They're replaced with like a concrete seating area. The whole signage up here is changing. The whole path is pretty much changing. Corkscrew's still the same though. Yeah, that's the face of someone about to ride Dragster. Isn't Power Tower's entrance over here now? Where is Power Tower's entrance? Wait. Yeah, it's here. Wait, whoa. It's all the way down here. Yeah, that's another thing that I didn't realize, I guess. Power Tower's entrance got moved. The more you know. Could you imagine if something happened to this recording and it turned out I wasn't recording like audio or video or just like paused halfway through? I would be devastated. I think we're about done though. Yeah, I think we've explored all of what there is at Cedar Point to explore. If we pop out, you can see how things have become a lot different. It doesn't look that different on the outset, but then you start seeing the differences. You see the pipe screams, the Lake Erie Eagles, the slingshots, the steel vengeances. Also, they finally updated the satellite video for Steel Vengeance. Up until this year, you can even see copyright 2023 at the bottom, but up until this year, it was still under construction in the satellite video, just like how Son of Beast was still in Kings Island's Street View for a long time. I want a funny way to end this, like I did the Kings Island one. I don't just want to say over and out. I could just cut the video. I'm gonna sneeze.